Hello guys. So today we're going to be talking about how to fill up a page in your sketchbook. Maybe you're just intimidated, maybe you've got artist block, maybe you bought new colors like watercolors and you want to test them out. One of the ways to do that is by a watercolor grid swatch test. So not only does that fill up a page in your sketchbook, but it also gives you a chance to check out the opacity of the colors, what they look like layered, and if they'll cover lines, like how opaque they are. You'll be able to see how different colors layer as well. This will take a long time because you have to wait for the layers to dry before you can put the color on top of them. And I really would suggest you get a marker that is waterproof. So what I use today is the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen. So this baby is purely waterproof. It's a light fast. If you don't have one, it's good to just have one of these in your kit for tests and stuff like this, even if you don't use it for anything else. As you can see, I had a ruler here. I tried to ruler it out, but it just smudged the marker everywhere, so I grabbed a new piece and free drew the lines, so they're a little wiggly. We're going to start off by watering our colors. I'm going to be using the Winsor & Newton Cotman set today. I have a couple of other colors. I have 3 other colors here that aren't Winsor & Newton Cotman, so I'm not going to be using those today because the whole point is to show you how to swatch something so that you know what your new watercolors are like. So you're just going to go ahead and moisten the cakes, get them all good and wet. That way you can go in with your paintbrush and really see what the colors are like. So I just have a jar of clean water here. Normally I'd have 2 jars of water, one with my clean water and one with my dirty brush water. But since I'm not doing a painting, I'm just color swatching, I only have 1 today. So with the Winsor & Newton Cotman set, I believe it comes with 2 browns, a red, an orange, ochre, 2 yellows, 2 greens, 2 blues, and a white. I'm still going to swatch the white, even though I don't think it'll show up, because on the layering aspect, I think it will. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to start off with the dark brown, because that's the first little square here. Just loading up my brush. And as you can see, that Faber-Castell ink is just pushing the water away from its edges. So I didn't know it would do that. So there's the first bar going that way. So that means that the brown will also have to be the first one to go horizontal as well. It'll be the first one going horizontal. Now we're going to skip the second brown to give the first brown time to dry, because if you paint wet next to wet, it'll bleed. So we're going to dip into the red here. And we're going to go ahead and fill in this row with the red. And as you can see, these are student grade paints, so they are not made with those really nice pigments that some of the higher end watercolors are made with. I haven't graduated to those yet. I'm still learning the art of the watercolor myself. And don't mind that, that's just my doggo. He likes to bark at nothing. And then we're going to go in with the yellow ochre next. And we're going to go ahead and fill in that line. So we're just skipping every other color to give the first rows that we're painting time to dry, because watercolors take a little bit to dry. And if you're curious what sketchbook I'm using, I am currently using a Faberino one that comes with half cream pages, half white pages, so that I can practice tonal value on toned paper. Because I've actually, until the newest sketchbooks that I bought, the 2 newest ones, I had never even used toned paper before. So I am currently learning how to use that. I have used colored paper, but not toned paper. Here's some of that lemony yellow. And as you can see, the marker is not blending into that yellow, which is really, really fabulous. Like if you're an illustrator or an architect and you want to make buildings, grab you a Pit Artist pen, get all those beautiful, perfect, clean lines, and you can actually paint right over the top of them. Which is not something you can do with pretty much any other marker. You'll have to wait till you'd have to put down the watercolor first, wait for it to dry, and then go in and clean up the lines. And that's if the watercolor stayed where you wanted it to. A lot of times watercolor will kind of run around and blend and go wherever it wants to. So that's something to definitely keep in mind as well. It might not stay where it is now. So we're going to go ahead and once again skip that blue, go to the next one. And like I said, I'm going to do the white last, I think. Just because I want to see how it layers with everything else. And as you can see, I think this is Prussian blue, is obviously a little bit prettier than the other blue. You'll see the other blue later. But even though it is prettier, it is got that like cartoony blue. It's obviously not made with the same pigments as the, you know, the professional line, which is totally okay. I mean, that's how it works. So we're gonna have to wait for these to dry a little bit, and then we'll go in and we'll add the other lines of color going across, and then we'll have our downward grid, and then we can go ahead and grid it laterally as well. Let's grab some of this other brown here. Let's see if I waited long enough to make them not bleed. So as you can see, once again, it's kind of a cartoony color. It doesn't have that richness that something with real pigments would have. It's a cartoony orange brown, but it is a beginner set, and it is treating me pretty well. I have learned a lot of new watercolor techniques since getting this set. And out of all of the student grade sets, I'd say Winsor Newton's probably one of the better ones. Some of the other paints that I have on my tray, like that sap green and that purple there, they're a different brand, and they're also really good, but I wouldn't say they have the opacity that some of these colors have in the Cotman set. Like, look at this rich ochre here. That's nice and opaque. That orange is opaque. The red's weak, so is the reddish brown, but once again, you're not getting those rich cadmium paints, so you're not going to have that rich redness like you would if you bought the more expensive / more dangerous colors. A lot of people just try to avoid cadmium in the first place. Personally, I prefer the cadmium colors just because they're prettier. They're just so rich. I'm not sure how to get around that. If anyone knows how to get around that, feel free to like tell me, because I really, really could use the knowledge. Here we go. We're swatching that second yellow, and as you can see, it's like a dandelion yellow. It's pretty rich because it's got the orange in it, compared to the lemon yellow, which has already faded and looks very, very light. It's because that orange is vibrant, the pigments they use for the orange, so that the dandelion yellow is going to look a little bit darker. That lemon yellow is very faint, very light, but if that's what you're going for, it can be perfect. Like, I know when I'm doing flowers, I always start at the lightest value and work my way up. And this would be a great background petal color, because then you could put the daffodils, the browns, the oranges, whatever on top of it, and really watch it develop from there. So that's really, really nice. Alright, we're going to go ahead and grab the second green here. It's more of a muddy green, more of an earthy green, which is why I prefer it to the Viridian, which is right here. I'm not a big Viridian fan. I know that, like, color mixing wise, if you add, like, yellow to it, you can get kind of an earthy green, or if you add brown to it, you can add a beautiful muddy brown. I know that, but I always reach, like, you can even look at my cakes, like, this one's got an indent, this one looks like I've never even used it. I always reach for, like, the earthy green, so, like, I always have to have a sap green, which is why I bought that too, because it didn't come with sap green. And then I've used the heck out of that green too, and I've used the heck out of the ochre, the red, the dandelion yellow, orange color. Basically, you can see, I used the Prussian blue over this one. Like, you can just see what colors I actually use and what colors I do not use very easily. Now some of you guys are probably thinking, oh, well, this one looks more like a ultramarine color. Why wouldn't you like this one more than the Prussian? And I'm like, because I can tell that it's not real ultramarine. Once again, we're using different pigments and chemical compounds to make the student grade sets. And I can tell just by looking at it that it has not got the same rich pigmentations as an ultramarine blue. And even then, I tend to like cerulean blue and Prussian blue a little bit better because I like the rich, like, vibrancy that you get. These colors just don't have that, and it really, really makes me sad. So there we go, we got all of the colors on there, except for white. Obviously I skipped it going down because you're not going to see it that way, and you will see it going the other way, so I just skipped it. I'm just going to put it on top because you'll see what it looks like layered on top of all the colors that way when I make my little white strip. If you want, you can take the time to grid it out with an actual ruler and make it look real pretty. Like I said, I just didn't have the patience today. You can go through and be like, this is the Winsor Newton Cotman set, and then like notation which colors are which. You can make it look real nice and real pretty. I've even seen people do it with, they have the larger sketchbooks, do it with like washi tape, so that they get those perfectly crisp lines, and then they can pull the washi tape up, and then there's no actual grid. There's just like little spaces of the original paper poking underneath. That's really cute too. If you guys want to see me do something like that, let me know, because I can easily do that. I just prefer to do a quick tutorial. That way you guys could see what it's like. Now, one thing that you must consider, unless you're using a watercolor paper sketchbook, you might have bleed through, which looks like I don't have any bleed through, so I can't show you. This Fabrino paper is fantastic. Your colors can bleed through. Even with watercolor paper, it's going to get all crunkly, so when you go to close your sketchbook, you'll see like there's pages like this one that's all crunkly. That's just because it's got watercolor on it. Even if you get watercolor paper, it's going to do that. It's just what paper does when it gets wet. It gets all crunkly. So you might want to invest in a sketchbook that has either a strap on it or maybe get a rubber band. I tend to rubber band a lot of mine because they don't always come with the little stringies to hold them closed. And if you don't, they'll just be like half open all the time. And that bothers me, drives me up a wall. Okay, little biscuits. It looks like it's like halfway dry. We're getting somewhere. This is just a great way to test out new colors. So if you buy a new palette, I know there's a couple that I want to get and want to try, especially the new Pastel Dreams palette. I really want to get that one and give that one a whirl. You can do this. You can do this with pretty much any kind of paint except gouache and acrylic paints, because gouache and acrylic paints are so opaque, you're not going to be able to see the difference in the layers. You will only see whatever you painted on top, so it'll just be lines of color. So as you'll see when I put the second rows that are going this way on top, you'll see that, hey, like, oh, this orange and orange makes brighter orange, duh, but orange and underlining yellow makes more of a yellowy color, maybe. Like, I don't know, I haven't done the grid test with these colors yet, so we'll find out together, but, knowing the color wheel, that's what it should look like. So when we go across, you'll see all the different colors, and you can do this with just about anything. Like, I've done this with some oil paints before, but, that's even harder because oil paints take so long to dry. It's usually easier to make a mini painting of what you're trying to make in oil paints and make like a mini underpainting and a mini painting and then do it on the bigger canvas when you're done. Just to make sure the colors look the way you want them to. But it is possible to do with oil paints. But honestly, I only ever do it for watercolors. If I want to do a swatch with oil paints, I just do a regular old swatch. And I'm just like, what color is this? And then I go from there. And if you guys are interested in seeing the difference between like a professional color and these other colors, I guess I can show you the Senior. I don't remember which color this is. I'm thinking it's like a Viridian again. So I'll stick it with the cheaper Viridian down here. But look at that richness in color. Like, it's so dark. Go ahead and add some water to it. Do you see what I mean by it's like got a much stronger pigment? It's so dark and beautiful. And you can see that this color is obviously weaker than this color. There's just so much richness to it. That's just the price you get with getting student grade. Honestly, like, unless you're talking reds, like I was talking about earlier, or blues, usually you can get away with the student grade paints because there's not going to be a noticeable enough difference, and you can always build up the color. So you'll see when I grid the red on top of the red that double red is darker. Now you do have to be careful when you're layering because you can't go back and forth because you'll lift the color from underneath. But for the most part, you really don't have to pay $6, $8, $10, $12 a square for a color like this one when you can get this entire palette right here for, like, I think I paid $15 at Michael's. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was $15 after a 40% off coupon. Which, if you ever shop at Michael's, use their 40% off coupon. It's on their website every day. They never take it off. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Like, do you really want to spend... I mean, if you're an illustrator or somebody who only ever uses watercolors, it might make sense to invest in the more expensive ones. But for me, this works well because I'm a mixed media artist. I use a little bit of everything. Jack of all trades, master of none, as they say. Alright. Looks like our paper is almost dry enough for me to go in and attach some stuff. We're almost there. But if you want to see what it looks like a little bit closer, this is what it looks like. It looks like a pretty rainbow. And once again, you can see the richness value. This has obviously a lot more pigments in it. Or maybe different pigments. I don't know. I'd have to look at the colors to know what they used. I do know that even though I just got this color, I started using it a lot. I like how rich it is, so it'll probably pop up in some of my paintings. Alright, this looks pretty dry. I'm going to go ahead and start the next round of colors. That way you can see what it's like horizontally. Now, my little biscuits, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to each other. The entire purpose of this page and channel for Artists Consumed is all of us are learning together. I mean, if you're a professional artist, you're more than welcome to, like, weigh in and give tips or be part of the Little Biscuit community, but we're here learning together. I don't want people to see all of the really strong artists on Instagram and YouTube and feel intimidated and feel like they'll never reach that impossible standard. I never want anyone to feel that way. And I know that when I first started, I felt really intimidated because in a lot of my art classes, I didn't take an art class until high school. And so by then, everybody around me had been doing it for years. Those people had been doing art for years. And I had literally never touched anything but a number 2 pencil for test taking. So I didn't even know that I wanted to be an artist or that I loved art at that point. So you really have to remember that, like, a lot of artists didn't reach their peak until, like, they were much older. Like, much, much older. And you really have got to remember that, because I don't want anything to ever, like, bog you guys down. So this is for a community of people that want to learn. Maybe you're just starting. Maybe you're intermediate, mediocre like myself. Maybe you're a professional and you want to try a different medium, so you're starting from square one. I want this to be a place for everybody, Little Biscuits. And if we can do that, it'll be a good time. Okay, I might have put too much pigment and not enough water on that. Maybe. That looks really dark. I don't know. We'll see when it dries. I might have been talking so much that I loaded up my pencil too much. Or not my pencil, my paintbrush. See? We all make mistakes. Ah, see, that looks better. Okay. And as you can see, it's kind of, the water's laying funny because now the paper is all crunkled and I didn't tape it down because it's in a sketchbook, so that's pretty dope. That's a good time. But that's just the name of the game. We are here to see how these colors work together. Not here to judge my lack of painting skills. Oops, that one must not have been dry all the way. I'd already lifted up some green. Not in the yellow. Oh well, accidents happen. I'm trying really hard to make a community where everyone can hang out together. Like, I don't want anyone to feel like they don't have a place here. I don't care if you are using Crayola crayons and printer paper, okay? The fact that you like art and you want to make something, that's a beautiful thing, even if you don't realize it. Like, art is so subjective. I honestly believe that everything is art. For those of you who don't know, I was a philosophy major for a while when I was in college, and you know, at some point the conversation comes up, what is art? Because it's one of the oldest arguments in history. And my professor was, you know, invoking a flame in me by saying that nothing was art. And I was like, excuse you, sir, but I believe everything is art. And he's like, well, defend your argument. And I, of course, stated, well, somebody designed this table, right? That's art. Somebody built this table with their own hands. That's art. And even if they didn't, they built the machine that built the table. And that's art. They programmed the machine. Like, that's beautiful, man. Like, humans can just... we can do anything, and it's so awesome. Like, I think I put the green in the wrong spot. Yellow, first green, second green. No, I did. Okay, we put it in the right spot. Okay. Yeah, no, you just gotta remember that everything is art. Like, you breathing and being alive is beautiful in art. Like, I don't know if you people believe in anything, and it's okay if you don't. I'm more of a scientist myself. But even that's beautiful when you really get down to the bottom of it. I can't wait to do the white and show you that it does basically nothing. For those of you who don't know, watercolor purists don't even use white. Like, at all. I mean, sometimes I'll use it as a mixing color if I want something to look more, like, opaque and muddy. But even then you can see I haven't really used the white either. I wouldn't consider myself a watercolor purist by any means. I am not fancy schmancy enough at art to be a purist. But, that's a thing. Like, they don't believe in white. I don't think they believe in black either. And as you can see, there is no black in this set. Just 2 browns. But you know what? If you know your color wheel, you can actually make black out of the colors that I have here. So if you guys want a video on how to, like, make blacks out of, like, different paints, I can show you how to do that. And usually the black you make is going to be much richer than a black that you would get in the tube anyway. So that's definitely something I can show you guys how to do. Or maybe you guys could show me. Like I said, I want this to be a community of all of us hanging out together. I want us all to be a happy little biscuit family and working together and just teaching each other stuff. Like, not sponsored by Skillshare, but I want to make a community like that where, like, we could all be together and learning together. I think that's beautiful. For those of you who don't know me in real life, I'm a bit of an autodidact. I think it's also pronounced autodictic. Autodictic? Dact? I don't know. I think it's just autodidact. But those are people that tend to learn on their own. So when I was in high school, for example, and don't do this, kids, go to school, be good kids, but I only went to school like once a week. But it was because I did all of my work in 2 hours and I would be bored all day at school then. I mean, you're there for 8 hours, and if you do everything in 2, like, what are you gonna do for the rest of the day? Just sit there bored out of your mind? I was not a fan, per se. So, yeah, I just preferred to learn on my own. I read all the time. I have tons and tons of books. I YouTube how to do stuff, and I realized that I really wanted to make a space where you could feel safe learning the basics. Like the very, very beginning fundamentals. We can learn this together and maybe grow together. Maybe one day we'll be making our own masterpieces and you guys can show me these beautiful pieces that you've made and they'll just blow my whole mind. Because like I said, I've only been doing art for a couple of years now. Let's see. Yeah, maybe like 8 years. I started 8 years ago. And you think I'd be further along, but I promise you I am still learning something new every day, and I am 100% mediocre. I will probably never be the Picasso-esque type, but that's okay. Because I like the idea of making a community where we can all learn together anyway. Like, I know I'm mediocre, but it's honestly one of the things I love most about myself. Because you have to start somewhere. Like, I really just don't want you guys to, like, look at other people and get intimidated. And be like, oh, I could never make that. Because guess what? You 1000% can. It might take you a while to learn how to make it. But you can make it. Even if, like, you don't believe in yourself, like, believe in the me that believes in you, man. And I'm sorry I stole that from an anime, but, like, it's so freaking true. Just believe in yourself, man. It is amazing what you can accomplish if you take the time and really just believe in yourself. Because, like, if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. You really can. And the sap green is not wanting to cooperate. Ah, there we go. And as you can see, the sap green is not very pigmented. You can, like, not even see it on the brown. But that's the price you pay for fabulous. Okay, let's get some of this wannabe ultramarine blue. There we go. And that leaves, ladies and gentlemen, the white. Oh no, I got some blue in the white. Okay, well this is gonna be white-ish because there's some Russian blue in my white. I'm trying to really load it up so that you can see it when I go over it. So I'm kind of cheating here. Okay, you can kind of see it right now. And I might have accidentally lifted some orange by going over that too many times. And there you go. And I can almost guarantee you that when it dries, you will see nothing. Because that is watercolor white, ladies and gentlemen. Watercolor white. So, as you can see, some of the colors, when I went over them, even though I tried my best not to go back and forth, I still lifted in some areas. In other areas, the waterproof marker pushed the pigment away, which is interesting. I haven't seen that before. So there's like a line here at the orange where you just see paper. So that's really weird. Oh yeah, it did it over here at the blue too. That's so weird. I've been using this marker for a while now. I got it a couple months ago and I still am learning new things about it. It literally pushed the pigment away from it. That's crazy. Okay. So, I'll go ahead and post a photo of this when it's dry so you guys can see what it looks like, but that's pretty much how you do it. You just wait for it to dry and then you'll be able to see all of the different layers. I'd lift it up and show you, but it's wet. It'll just bleed everywhere. So as you can see, you can tell what it's like when it's layered, and that's really important. And if you want, you can always make your grid a little bit bigger and you can do like colors without being gridded. That way you can see regular swatches too. But honestly, I would just suggest a different page with a regular swatch. You can also make like a little card to keep in your paint palette so that you know what colors look like when they're dried. Thank you so much for sticking around for my first real video. This is how you do a watercolor grid swatch. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to like, comment, all that good stuff, and let me know what you thought of how to swatch with watercolors. Thanks guys, and I hope you have a good day.